very good morning to you all. I hope you guys are doing really well today. It is Friday, it's the end of the week, and it is our final show of the week. But we have a very fascinating week for you, and you are with me, Maha Mukhtaib and Shahzad. I have so much to say today. How are you, Shahzad?
Absolutely perfect. Assalamu alaikum, people. Thank you very much for tuning in. It's always a pleasure when we take a look at your feedback as well. And then there have been a lot of questions related to Dr. Yousuf, and that might not even relate to you being student of Quran, but probably student of psychology at the same time.
Psychiatry.
But yeah, okay, psychiatry. Yeah. Thank you very much for the correction as well. But I think it'll work either way.
Okay, we're not going to get into that conversation.
Yeah. But since you know that the team has actually grown up, and over here today with us, we have been joined by Dr. Yousuf Raza.
Oh no! Yeah. Dr. Yousuf was supposed to do the introduction today.
Yeah, that's what we planned on, but it's perfectly all right, because just before we were about to go on air, Maha was like, I'll do the opening. I was like, okay, ladies first, no problem at all. So, okay, if Dr. Yousuf, assalamu alaikum, first of all, but if you were to open the show, how would you do it? Do it in chemistry.
I'll show you on Monday. How about I do that on Monday?
No, on Monday. Let's say for Monday.
Just a bit of try, just a bit.
Let's do it on Monday.
Just a bit.
Oh, gosh.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi everyone. Welcome to World This Morning.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's great. Which is our Maghdub.
Yeah, that was way better than my introduction. Damn.
So, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well, alhamdulillah.
And what are we doing today?
We're doing Surah A'raf, ayah number 63 today, and I hope that from this surah we can get, from this particular ayah, we can get a lot of messages across, sort of like a summary of most of what the surah talks about, and get a good idea of what prophethood is all about.
Okay, wonderful. So I think we should take it away, because we have quite a lot to cover.
Yeah. I think in a day or two I'll probably put up some notes over there, because every time you see over there, I think there is something.
Okay. So, now, I'm going to take it up a notch a little.
Okay.
Because everyone's given such nice feedback over the past couple of days, and you guys have interacted so well and followed along so nicely. I'm going to take it up a little bit in terms of what we're going to talk about.
Okay, but when we do use the words, we need to translate them as well.
Inshallah. Don't worry about that. Inshallah. Okay, before I get into the ayah, just building a little bit of a perspective.
Yeah.
There is a pagan perspective of the world that has been there in whichever pagan society you talk about. Whether you talk about Greek mythology or Arab paganism or what have you, you will have this particular concept consistent there. Okay. And how this concept goes, it looks at the world in a dualistic fashion. There is a superior realm, the metaphysical realm. And everything to do with that realm is superior. Everything about that realm is awesome, pure, perfect, right? And then there is this inferior worldly realm. And this realm, everything about that is imperfect. Everything about this is impure. So just opposites. Whatever good you gave there, just make the opposite of that and attribute that to over here, right? So that's a dualistic conception of the world, and it's fixed. That's just how that is, and that's just how this is. This is how it's going to go on.
Is it that how we think, or is it that how it really is?
This is how we think it really is.
Okay.
Right? So this is how, this was how paganism this is how it put out the perspective of reality. Paganism would look at the world in this particular way. Now, John Dewey is an American philosopher. He writes in his Reconstruction of Philosophy that this was the worldview of the Greek mythologists, and this was systematized and formally made into a system of logic and philosophy by Plato and Aristotle. Okay. And all of Western philosophy is influenced by Plato and Aristotle. Whitehead said that all of Western philosophy is a footnote on Plato, right?
Okay.
Iqbal says, rahimahullah, Allama Iqbal, he says that our scholars were also influenced by Greek philosophy such that they started interpreting the Quran in this way. So those influences seeped into our understanding as well. Why is that important? Because in that particular worldview, accepting the concepts of prophets is very weird. It doesn't fit in. A human being belonging to this lowly, impure world, how can he be a third? For one thing, in a dualistic conception, there cannot be a third, right? So a third who is establishing a relationship between that world and this world. Inconceivable. Inconceivable. Which is represented over here, an ayah that I selected from Surah A'raf. Awa ajibtum, this is Nuh alayhi salam talking to his people. Awa ajibtum an ja'akum dhikrum mir rabbikum ala rajulin minkum. Does it surprise you Are you just, is it too unbelievable for you that a reminder has come from your Rabb, from that world, ala rajulim minkum, on a man from among you, on a man from among you? Why is that so inconceivable for you? It's inconceivable because of that dualistic framework. No human beings cannot have a relationship with that world. It's just not possible.
That's how we think, probably.
That's how it started.
That's how people used to think.
That's
that
how
you
people
couldn't
used to
have
think, and under that influence is still prevalent, by the way. How did it used to manifest then? It used to manifest then, okay, we've seen this guy eat, drink, he has family, he has kids, he gets hurt, he bleeds, he has a human life. He's claiming to be a prophet. Not happening. Not possible. Divine world, our world, no. Because if you understand, again, if you accept that there is a communication, then you're going to have to pay heed to what that communication says, and that makes life a little more difficult, right? So now, that's how it manifested then. How do we do it? We grew up believing in prophets, right? We grew up understanding that they received revelation and they gave us communication from God. When we were like this big, we knew that, right? And we were claiming to believe in that, and that's how we identified ourselves. Now, when we see human attributes attributed to the prophets, prophets are people who got scared. Prophets are people who became sad. Prophets are people who cried.
Felt our pain.
Exactly. And all of those human experiences that they experienced, no. Take this human side completely out of their description. Let's exaggerate them to the level of making them divine. Let's take them to the level of the divine. What does making them divine do to serve me unconsciously? What it's doing is, I don't have to emulate their example anymore. I don't have to follow them because they're divine, I'm human, how can I follow their example? How can I sacrifice the way they sacrificed? How can I struggle the way they struggled? Not happening, right? Another thing, because I've deified them, because I've taken them to divine level, now, again, remember that triangle we made yesterday? Now in that Iman aspect, I have fabricated an Iman, come up with a belief system, which I say now, just believing in this is going to get me redemption on the Day of Judgment. I don't have to act. All I have to do is believe in this divine being that was the prophet.
Or probably just say that I believe.
Just I believe in this. That's sufficient. That is sufficient for me, and that allows for me to escape the responsibility that comes upon me. Again, in that dualistic fixed hierarchy system, we've been talking about this from the first day now. Dua is inconceivable. How can I call on God? Right? This relationship. How can God call on me in that, send prophets to tell me what to do? Inconceivable. So all these people, all the people of the nations had this problem. How can a human being be a prophet? And we have the reverse side of the problem. For example, in our own history, if we hear narrations that say that the Messenger ﷺ liked someone and he proposed to marry her, like, oh my God, what are you talking about? Oh my God, what's wrong with you? That he became angry. Oh my God. He started crying when his son died. Oh my God, what's wrong with you? All of those things become utterly inconceivable, and the earth is shaken from underneath us when we hear these human attributes of the Prophet ﷺ. When we see the Quran talking to him the way the Quran talks to him, because it's a real book. It's a living book for living people, and it has to give us living examples of human beings. We can't follow angels.
Because they were role models.
They were role models.
It's interesting.
So now, that's the conception of prophethood that we need to have at a general level. Now, at a particular level with each prophet, another thing that we see is that not only is this relationship between the divine and this world possible, it's also dynamic. You see the message of God changing with every prophet. The essence remains the same, but as the needs of the people change, the message changes as well. For example, let's divide the prophets into two categories. Pre-Abrahamic and post-Abrahamic. Before Ibrahim alayhi salam, after Ibrahim alayhi salam. By prophets here we mean Rasul. A Rasul is a prophet who is sent with a particular mission, with a particular message to a particular nation. And rejecting the message of the prophet means the entire nation will be subjected to a punishment. A divine calamity will come and wipe everyone who rejected out.
And that's what has happened.
That's what has happened. That's what the Quran repeatedly narrates. Nuh alayhi salam was the first Rasul. Adam alayhi salam was the first Nabi, but Nuh alayhi salam was the first Rasul who had this mission to go to a people. 950 years, as the Quran says, he tried telling him, listen to this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants you to worship Him, accept Tawheed, be good to each other. That was his message. Obey me, have the taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That was his basic message.
Okay.
People didn't accept, flood wiped them out.
Yeah.
Hud alayhi salam went to the nation of Ad after, this is after Nuh. Same message, same response, same consequence. Salih alayhi salam went to the people of Thamud. Same message, same response, same consequence. Now, Ibrahim alayhi salam, he symbolizes for us as good as individual sacrifice and tawheed can possibly be in one individual. Right? Individual greatness as a role model is in Ibrahim alayhi salam. Right? Now, the human society has evolved by that time. We're no longer living, human beings living in caves, every man for himself, maybe basically a family, at most a tribe. That's what goes on. But now the human society has developed, has evolved, such that we are more interdependent.
Okay.
Human society, an individual's action will impact the society. And human beings' choices will impact the society more than what it used to, at least.
And that's what we have been talking about as well since all of these 2.5 or 3 years. I think me and Ma have actually pointed out that this is what you need to do probably to make it a better society, to make it a better place to live in.
Right. So with Lut alayhi salam, who's a contemporary, he's a nephew of Ibrahim alayhi salam, the society is intertwined, and we see that along with the message of Tawheed, he gives a message of a social import. There is a social problem in that particular society. The people in that society are given into homosexuality.
Okay.
To the extent that they are completely neglecting the women of that society. What is natural is completely gone, and they make people, or even foreigners who come to their land, they compel them under duress to engage in those activities to fulfill their desires. Now Tawheed is not just limited to saying worship Allah. Now Tawheed says your pleasure-seeking ways of living your independence, or your freedom, is leading you to fulfill your pleasure so much that the rights of the society are being encroached.
And it's not enjoyment at all.
It's not good. Even if it is individual enjoyment, the women are suffering.
So basically, as a social effect, it's negative.
It's negative. Yeah. So now Tawheed includes that, and he says you have to stop doing this as well. Response is the same, consequence is the same.
So now the messages have actually started to evolve.
Exactly, because the human society is evolving. It's a dynamic. He's not an unmoved mover who's already written a script for the world, and the script is rolling, and there's nothing going, and he's responding to the changing situations of the world. Right? Come Shu'aib alayhi salam. Now human beings economically have evolved.
All right.
There's an economic interdependence. People of Shu'aib say, Shu'aib, what's wrong with you? Is your prayer telling us that what we should do with our money? These are sacred rights of ownership that we have. If we want to charge people interest, we'll charge people interest. If we want to cheat them, we'll cheat them. We want to rip them off, we're going to rip them off. That's our right. Shu'aib alayhi salam says, no, my Tawheed tells me to tell you, you can't do that anymore. Particularly with respect to interest, which with Musa alayhi salam and the Messenger alayhi salam became developed. Just understand it like this. Let's say the poor people of the world have 100 rupees in totality, and the rich people of the world have 1,000 rupees as a collective assets. Poor person borrows 100 rupees from rich person. Now the poor people have 200 rupees. Okay. Right? Rich people have 900. Rich person says, give me interest on this, 10%. They give back 110. Rich people now have 1,010. Poor people have 90. From where they started off, they become poorer. Rich have become richer. Exponentially multiply this as to how loans and interest works. The poor in the society will continue to become poorer and poorer and poorer, more impoverished, deprived of basic rights, and the rich will become richer and richer and richer, indulging in pleasures and luxuries while people don't even have drinking water.
And that's what's going on still.
That's human society for you, from the west to the east, from the north to the south, with no exceptions. That's how deeply intertwined, now interdependent our relationships have become.
So really, we haven't learned anything from any of these messages.
Exactly. So the message of Shu'aib alayhi salam is, stop doing this. Stop using these, claiming divine rights over your wealth. Claiming divine rights over your wealth, and let's, come to Tawheed and let's be fair to each other. They say no. Same response, same consequence. Musa alayhi salam comes in. Fir'aun is there. Now there is political oppression and tyranny taking place.
But before you move on to that, there's one more thing which I wanted to share, and that is that I think unfortunately over here in Pakistan the interest rates are in double figures. But if you travel abroad, for example, even in UK, the interest rates are very low and they're very convenient. So I don't know whether who's actually taken the teaching seriously, and
the thing is, it's still interest.
Yeah,
it's still interest.
Interest
but
is
the Queen
interest.
can waive it off as well.
Yeah. The interest in England is quite high when you work in pounds. It's quite much. But no, like you're saying, interest is interest. It shouldn't really be existing if you're
It is still exploitation of the poor.
Okay.
Do we have any
more
other
exploitation or low exploitation? Still exploitation.
No, but what other ways are there? For example.
Okay. Again, morality, as far as the Quran sees it, has to be based in Iman.
Okay.
If the world is at loggerheads with those who claim Iman, where my understanding or knowledge of the world tells me that there is no God, if my biology tells me that I'm a pleasure-seeking animal, survival of the fittest, that's the principle I'm working on. If physics teaches me that I'm a mechanical robot, if psychology teaches me that I'm driven by my will to pleasure, if economics teaches me that whoever can get however much his hands on, that's what we got to do. Darwinism is seeping into all of our understandings of economy, psychology. God is moved out of the picture, prophets are moved out of the picture.
So what were the people doing before this century?
Again, at that time, this was being perpetrated by religious authorities. Religious authorities misrepresenting religion, this is a reaction to that. And reactions are always to an extreme. Reactions are all, the people who are supposed to be the upholders of morality are at the lowest level of morality, and they are sanctioning religiously mistreatment of people, exploitation. Divine rights of the kings and their injustices are being sanctioned by the church of the time of the Middle Age Europe.
And they trade this morality quite a lot.
And then the thing is, this is happening in most religions.
Exactly.
Like, so
all across the board, no exceptions. No exceptions. Right? So now when that is happening, the reaction will be to an extreme, and the extreme reaction of the most intellectual of people will be out with God, out with religion, out with prophets. Let's focus here on our wealth here, on our pleasure here, on our enjoyment here. So whatever religion basically talked about, the opposite almost became understood. Let's just talk about that. Okay. Right? So that's how it became. Musa alayhi salam, political tyranny. His message is, Fir'aun, enough of it. Stop oppressing Bani Israel. Stop oppressing these people. Stop killing their sons and leaving their women alive to exploit them and have fun with them. Let them go. Let them go. Not on anymore. He rejects the consequences the same. He drowns. Human society is evolving. The Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the last and final messenger. Now the world is on the verge of becoming a global village. What we are experiencing today was the seeds for that had already been sown. Kingdoms had been established and humans were more tightly knit, not as much as we are today, by the way. No, humanity was not as interdependent then as it is now. You could still go and live by yourself in the desert. Now you can't live by yourself anywhere, even in Pakistan. You can't go, I'm going to live with my sheep on my mountain. No, you're not going to do that. You can't do that. You still have to deal in this paper currency with all of the interest and everything that's involved with it. You still have to, the social values are what they are, and they're influenced by whatever is going on around the world. And the political ways that have evolved and how politics is done is how it is across the board, across the world, with no intervention, with no allowance for any interference of anything, any divine book. Has nothing to do with how we manage at all. No principles, no moral values, no room at all. No room at all. So that's the world we're living in. And so the message of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam being last and final was the most comprehensive. It covered economic, social, and political all at the same time. And his message was global. It wasn't to a particular nation, because now human beings are going to become a global community.
Yes.
So he says, Ya ayyuhan nas, O people of the world. Every other prophet would say, Ya qawmi, Ya qawmi, Ya qawmi, my people, my people, my people. The Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his people are all people from all time to come. So tomorrow, on Monday,
And
inshallah.
from all walks of life as well.
From all walks of life. Monday, inshallah, we'll take 2 of the last ayat of Surah Tawbah, inshallah, and we'll talk about specifically the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his seerah, his life, his message, and what we're supposed to do with respect.
And I hope you will
it's
WhatsApp
exciting.
as well.
Yes, this time I will.
Excellent.
I'm not in some other show in the evening with
That's fine, we
watching
understand.
people cotton balls and Vaseline on their nose.
Thank you very much for that as well. I take it as a compliment. But thank you very much, Yousuf, for joining us.
Thank you
And
so much. It was really
inshallah, on
interesting.
Monday then, we'll see you and bright and early, obviously, just like always.
And have a great Friday.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I think that you might have taken something away from this segment as well. But in the other segment, it is all about hospitality. We're going for a short break. Don't go anywhere. It's a good morning.